Trust is funny. It's not built in grand moments. It's built in the little ones, taking her word when she says she'll be home by 9, believing her when she says she's with her sister, not second-guessing when she says, I love you, and kisses your cheek on the way out the door. So when Jenna, my wife of 7 years, packed an overnight bag and said she was going to help her sister with the kids while her brother-in-law was out of town, I didn't question it. I even offered to drive her. She laughed and said, You're sweet, but it's fine. I'll only be gone one night. I kissed her goodbye Friday morning, told her to be safe. She smiled, told me not to wait up, and that she'd call later that night. She didn't. That was the first ripple. Not a storm, not even suspicion, just a ripple. I sent a casual, how's everything, text around 8:30 p.m. No answer. Called at 9:17, straight to voicemail. I told myself not to overthink. Maybe her phone died. Maybe she was just tired. Or maybe her sister needed her hands more than her phone. But the next morning, I still hadn't heard anything. And that's when my gut, that voice every man has but too often ignores, started talking. So I called her sister, Carrie, just to check in. Keep it casual. Hey, I said. Just wanted to see how things are going over there. Jenna made it in okay. A pause. What do you mean? My stomach dropped. She said she was helping you out this weekend, I said slowly. With the kids. Carrie's voice shifted instantly. Colton, I haven't seen Jenna in over a month. I don't remember what I said next. I ended the call politely, kept my voice calm, thanked her, told her I'd check in again later. Then I sat in that silence. It wasn't just betrayal whispering now. It was confirmation. I didn't throw things. I didn't scream. I just grabbed my keys and headed out. She said she was driving 2 towns over. Her favorite place to stop for lunch on that route. A little hotel with a diner attached. One of those off-the-highway joints with dusty signs and rooms too clean to be innocent. I parked across the lot. And there it was. Her car, parked in the far corner, backed in, like she didn't want it to be noticed. I stared at it for a long time, hand frozen on the steering wheel. Because that was the moment the truth finally knocked. Not loud, but hard enough to change everything. I didn't get out of the truck right away. Just sat there, watching her car like it might vanish if I blinked hard enough. But it didn't. It stayed right there, still, smug, quiet. The same way her lies had been creeping through our house for months. I thought about going in, kicking down a hotel room door like something out of a movie. But this wasn't a movie. This was my life, my marriage, rotting from the inside out. I wasn't about to let emotion turn me into a fool. Instead, I waited. 15 minutes passed. Then 20. Then at 28 minutes, the door to room 206 opened. And there she was. Jenna, wearing the sweatshirt I bought her last Christmas. Hair tied back in a lazy knot. Her face looked relaxed, even, soft. Not the look of a woman tending to her sister's kids. Then a man stepped out behind her. Tall. Mid-30s. Athletic build. Black ball cap pulled low. He laughed at something she said, casual, intimate, easy. Like this wasn't their first time. Like they knew each other well enough to skip the awkwardness. She touched his chest before he walked to his car. She didn't see me. I didn't want her to. Not yet. She climbed into her car and pulled out of the lot. I waited until they were both gone. Then I parked closer, walked into the lobby like I belonged there. The woman behind the counter barely looked up. Afternoon, I said, calm as I could. I think I left my phone in room 206 yesterday. My wife and I stayed the night, but she already left this morning. The clerk didn't question it. Just handed me a keycard and told me to bring it back once I checked. I opened the door and stepped inside. The room smelled like cologne and fake lemon cleaner. The sheets were wrinkled. 2 glasses on the nightstand. A takeout container in the trash. Everything about it screamed intimacy. And then I saw it. Her necklace. The small silver chain I gave her on our 2nd anniversary, still sitting on the bathroom sink like it had been forgotten in a rush. That was all the confirmation I needed. I didn't take anything. Didn't make a scene. I just stared at that necklace for a long minute, the weight of it pressing down like a final nail in a coffin I didn't know I was building. When I left the room, I handed the key back. The clerk didn't even glance up. Find it? She asked. No, I said. But I found enough. I drove home in silence. No music. No calls. Just the sound of wind against the window and the dull roar in my chest. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I already knew what I was going to do. I didn't pack her things. I didn't call her out. I didn't scream. I went inside, poured myself a drink, sat down at the kitchen table, and started making a list. A real list. One that didn't begin with forgive or understand. It began with end it. Because this time, I wasn't going to wait for her lies to catch up. This time, I was going to meet them at the door. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't even try. I sat at the dining table long after the streetlights flickered on, long after Murphy curled up under my chair and started snoring. The whiskey in my glass stayed untouched. My phone stayed face down. And that list in front of me, it got longer. I wrote down every practical step, bank accounts, utilities, legal contacts, shared storage passwords, even the damn Hulu login. But below that list, I started another. Questions I'd ignored. Why had she stopped asking about my day? Why did she sleep facing the other way the past 3 months? Why did she laugh less around me, and more when she texted someone else? Every item was like a pin stuck into a version of myself I didn't recognize anymore. A version that made excuses for her. That saw the signs but looked away because love told me not to be suspicious. But this wasn't love anymore. It was a long, slow theft. And I'd let it happen. At 6:42 a.m., Jenna came home. I heard her keys before I saw her. Door unlocked, quiet footsteps. The soft thud of her purse hitting the entryway table. She probably thought I'd still be asleep. That she could slide back into the morning like nothing had happened. I stayed still, sitting in the dark, waiting. She stepped into the kitchen and froze when she saw me, still in the same shirt from yesterday, hands folded in front of me. "Hey," she said, like she wasn't walking into a graveyard. "Have fun at Carrie's." Her face changed, tightened, not surprised, just calculating, like a chess player who didn't expect her bluff to get called so soon. She started. I raised a hand. "Calm, steady, don't lie to me, Jenna." She stood there, lips pressed together, weighing her next words. "I didn't go to Carrie's," she finally said, voice almost a whisper. "No. You went to a hotel with a man I've never met." She flinched, just slightly. I stood up, walked to the sink, poured out the whiskey I never drank. "Was it the first time?" I asked without turning. A long pause. Then, "No." I nodded once. That was all I needed to hear. "How long?" I asked. 5 months. The number hit me like a quiet slap. Not violent, just cold. Final. 5 months. That meant our anniversary. My birthday. Ryan's school play. "Do I know him?" I asked. She hesitated. "You met him once. He works at the gym." I laughed. "Perfect." She stepped forward. "Colton, I didn't mean." I turned to face her. "Stop. Don't say it wasn't about me. Don't say it was a mistake. A mistake is one night. You made a choice every week for 5 months. You chose him." Tears welled in her eyes. But I'd seen enough of them. Tears didn't mean regret. They meant exposure. "I'll be staying at a friend's place for now," she said. "I don't want to confuse Ryan." I nodded. "Good. Because I won't lie for you." Her jaw trembled. "Is there any part of you that still?" "No," I said firmly. "That man died in a hotel parking lot yesterday." She left without another word. And when the door clicked shut behind her, the silence that filled the house. It didn't hurt. It felt like relief. Because for the first time in months, I knew where I stood. Alone. But not fooled anymore. The hardest part wasn't the lie. It was the rewind. Every room in the house held echoes I didn't trust anymore. That throw blanket on the couch. She cuddled under it after coming home late. That picture in the hallway, her in that red dress, me with my arm around her, that was taken 2 weeks into the affair. Suddenly, my whole life was a crime scene, and I couldn't tell which memories were clean and which were contaminated. I spent the next 2 days in cleanup mode. Not the emotional kind, the physical kind. I took down photos, packed up shared keepsakes. Tossed every card she'd ever written into a trash bag without reading them. I wasn't going to dig for meaning in the handwriting of someone who chose another man's arms over mine. I changed the locks. Not because I didn't trust her not to come back, because I didn't trust myself to care if she did. On the 3rd morning, I called James, my longtime friend and divorce attorney. He'd helped my brother through a rough split years ago, and when I told him I needed a meeting, he didn't ask for context. Just gave me a time. We met at his office, a clean corner unit with big windows that overlooked the courthouse. "Fitting. So," he said, settling behind his desk, "on a scale from, we can fix this to, burn it all down, where are you?" I didn't flinch. "It's over. She cheated for 5 months. I caught her at a hotel." He exhaled, leaned back. "Then we keep it clean, fast. No back and forth. What do you want?" "I want my name off everything we built together. House, cars, bank accounts. She can keep the furniture and the dog." I want out. James raised an eyebrow. You're sure about that? Every time I sit on that couch, I see the version of me that trusted her. I'm done sitting in that man's shadow. He nodded. All right, then we do this on your terms. You'll get served clean. If she contests, we push. If she rolls over, we finish it fast. I signed the first set of papers. It wasn't emotional. It was mechanical, like sweeping up broken glass, necessary, sharp, satisfying. Later that night, I stopped by the rec field where Ryan used to play baseball. He wasn't with me. Jenna hadn't asked to see him since she left, and I hadn't offered. Not because I was using him as leverage, because I was waiting to see if she'd fight for anything besides her own comfort. She didn't. I sat on the bleachers until the sun dipped behind the scoreboard. Watched kids run drills with clumsy determination. Watched dads carry coolers and clipboards, shouting encouragement between jokes. And I realized something that both comforted and gutted me. Life goes on, even when yours falls apart. The world doesn't pause for your heartbreak. It just keeps moving. And you either chase after it, or you stay stuck in a house that no longer feels like yours. When I got home, I made dinner. Just me and Murphy. Steak and potatoes. No extra plate out of habit. No wine poured for someone who wasn't coming back. And when I lay down that night, I slept. No dreams. No tossing. Just silence. And for the first time in weeks, it felt like peace. 2 weeks passed. No contact. No surprise visits. No late-night voicemails asking if we could talk it through. I half expected her to try something, to show up crying, to send a song that reminded her of us, to pretend she was sorry. But there was nothing, just silence. And it told me more than any apology ever could. Jenna didn't fight for the marriage because she'd already replaced it. She'd been rehearsing her exit while I was still fixing the sink and folding her laundry. James called me on a Thursday. She signed, he said. I sat on the back steps with Murphy lying at my feet, warm breeze carrying the smell of cut grass. Just like that, she didn't even try to negotiate. Gave up the house, the joint savings, even the SUV. She just wants it done. That hit hard, but not for the reason I expected. It wasn't relief. It was grief. Not for her. For the man I'd been. The version of me who stayed loyal while she was walking into hotel rooms. The version who bought flowers when she was distant. The version who stood in line to buy groceries while she was texting another man from the car. I didn't cry. I just stared at the fading sky and let the grief pass through. Later that night, I met up with a couple of old friends at a bar we used to haunt before marriages and mortgages. Travis and Mick. Good guys. Real guys. The kind who knew when to talk and when to just hand you a beer. They didn't ask for details. Didn't ask what happened. They just made space. After a few rounds, Mick leaned over and said, "You look different, man." "Yeah." I said, half laughing. "Yeah," he nodded, like someone who took a punch and didn't fall over. I didn't know how to respond to that, so I just raised my glass and clinked it against his. We didn't stay late. I wasn't there to drink myself into distraction. I just needed the noise, the laughter, the proof that life didn't end with betrayal, it just took a different shape. When I got home, there was a box on the porch. No note. Just her handwriting. Inside, her keys, a few books, a sweatshirt I thought I'd lost, and a framed photo of us on our wedding day. The glass was cracked. I didn't bring it inside. I threw the whole thing in the trash. Because I wasn't going to carry her nostalgia for her. She made her choices. Now I was making mine. That weekend, I took Murphy to the lake. No plans. Just needed to feel something real. Wind, water, trees that didn't care what I'd lost. While he sniffed along the shore, I watched the sun slip behind the tree line and realized I wasn't waiting anymore. Not for a text. Not for closure. Not for her. I was building something new now. Maybe slower. Maybe quieter. But stronger. Because this time, it starts with me. The next chapter didn't arrive with a grand announcement. No epiphany. No new woman sweeping into my life to fill the empty space Jenna left. It came quietly, like a sunrise through dusty windows. Slow. Honest. It started with routine. Morning runs with Murphy. Eggs and black coffee instead of silence and suspicion. Fixing things around the house not because I had to impress anyone, but because it felt good to take care of something and know it wouldn't betray me back. One morning, while jogging past the park near the edge of town, I saw a familiar face, Emma. She was jogging too, earbuds in, ponytail bouncing. We used to work at the same company years ago, back when I was still figuring out who I wanted to be. She was the bright one, always the first to volunteer, always had a smart remark during meetings that made people laugh without getting fired. She spotted me at the stoplight, pulled her earbuds out, smiled. "Well, if it isn't Colton Reeves," she said. I smiled back. "You still smoke me in the morning run times?" "Every time," she smirked. "Though your dog might slow you down less than my old knees do now." We ended up walking a lap together. Light talk. Where we'd been, who we still knew, who got married, who shouldn't have. I didn't bring up the divorce. She didn't bring up her own personal life. There was an unspoken agreement, not yet. Just presence. When we parted ways, she touched my arm. "You seem grounded," she said. "Working on it." "Well," she said, "don't disappear. You're easier to talk to now than back in those spreadsheet meetings." I grinned. I didn't know I was hard to talk to. "You weren't. Just busy being polite instead of being real." That sat with me. I was polite for years. Did the chores. Brought flowers. Bit my tongue when Jenna started staying late. I was polite while I got erased. And now, I was learning to be real. Over the next few weeks, Emma and I started running together more often. No pressure. No romantic overtones. Just companionship. She asked questions that mattered, and when she didn't like an answer, she didn't try to fix it, just sat with it. One morning after a long run, she handed me a thermos of coffee and said, "You're not as guarded as I thought you'd be." I looked at her. "That's because I already survived the worst lie someone could hand me. What's left to be afraid of?" She smiled. "Good answer." Later that week, I got a message from Jenna. "You look happier. I hope it's real." I didn't reply. Because she wasn't checking in on my well-being. She was checking if her replacement was doing better than she expected. But I didn't owe her that peace. You don't get to abandon a house and ask how the renovation is going. That night, I sat on the back steps again. Murphy asleep beside me, moon high and quiet. Emma had just left. We didn't kiss. We didn't talk about dating. But we'd laughed. Hard. And for the first time in a long time, that laughter didn't feel borrowed. It felt like mine. Because the truth is, healing isn't about who comes next. It's about who you become in the silence after the storm. And I was finally learning to like the man I saw in that silence. The first time Ryan asked if his mom and I were ever getting back together, we were sitting in the driveway. He was in the passenger seat, holding a melted ice cream cone, and the question came out so softly it almost didn't register. "Do you think you'll ever, be together again?" I didn't answer right away. Because my first instinct was anger, not at him, but at her. At Jenna, for planting seeds in his mind without thinking about the weight he'd carry around because of them. But I breathed deep, steadying myself. "I don't think so, buddy," I said carefully. "Sometimes two people care about each other, but they grow apart in ways they can't fix." He looked down at the sticky cone. "Is it 'cause of that man?" I blinked. "Did she tell you that?" I asked gently. "No," he said. "But I heard you talking once. And I saw her phone one time. She had a picture with someone I didn't know." That gut punch feeling came back. But I stayed still. "Whatever happened," I said, "none of it is your fault. And it's not your job to make it better." He nodded slowly. "Do you love her still?" I looked at my son, his face carrying bits of both of us. The good, the confusion, the hope. "I'll always care about her because she's your mom," I said. "But love? No. Love is trust," and that went away. He didn't cry. He just leaned over and hugged me. Quiet, strong, more like a man than a boy. And in that moment, I knew something that changed me. I wasn't just healing for myself. I was healing for him. So he'd grow up knowing what love should feel like, what it should never become. That weekend, I bumped into Monica again. Not in a place that made sense, not the grocery store, not school pickup, but at a restaurant. The kind where people pretend they aren't watching each other from behind wine glasses. She was sitting at a booth with him. The man I saw outside the hotel that morning. I wasn't even supposed to be there. I was meeting Emma and two of her friends for dinner. Something light, something new. Emma didn't know the full story. I hadn't told her everything. Only the broad strokes. But the second Monica saw me, she froze. I nodded once, civil but distant. The man she was with noticed and leaned in, whispering something into her ear. Her posture tightened, like she didn't expect me to walk into her story. Emma noticed. "Someone you know?" she asked. "My ex-wife," I said plainly. "And the guy she left with." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Want to go somewhere else?" I looked at her, calm, grounded, the kind of woman who didn't need to pick fights to feel seen. "No," I said. "I'm not running from what's already behind me." We sat. We ate. We laughed. And not once did I look back at that booth again. Because I had everything I needed at my table. Later that night, after I walked Emma to her car, she touched my chest lightly and said, "That couldn't have been easy." It wasn't, I admitted. But I didn't feel weak. I felt whole. She smiled. "That's the word I was hoping you'd use." When I got home, Ryan was already asleep. Murphy greeted me at the door like I'd been gone a week. I sat on the edge of the bed, watched my son breathe deeply, peacefully. And I thought about how far I'd come. From discovering the affair in a hotel parking lot, to sitting across from it at a restaurant, to not letting it steal another second of my life. Jenna had made her choice. But so had I. And I chose peace. I never thought I'd say it, but I was beginning to feel thankful for the betrayal. Not because it didn't hurt. It did. Still does sometimes, in sharp little moments, hearing a song, passing a hotel sign, folding Ryan's laundry alone. But because it stripped everything false from my life, and what was left behind, was me. And for the first time, me was enough. Emma and I had slowly grown into something that felt solid. Not flashy, not dramatic, but real. We didn't rush into anything. We didn't use words we weren't ready for. It started with morning runs, turned into coffee, and now, some nights, she'd stop by after work just to sit on the porch with me, no agenda, no pretending. That's the thing about someone healthy, they don't try to heal you. They just make room for you to heal yourself. It was a Thursday when Jenna finally texted again. "Jenna, I've been thinking, maybe we should talk, for real. Just you and me. No apology. No clarity. Just another fishing line tossed into the water she polluted." I didn't reply. But I didn't delete it either. I showed Emma that night, not because I needed advice, but because I'd promised myself I wouldn't hide anything real from her. She read the text, nodded, and handed the phone back. "I don't need to ask if you'll respond," she said. "You sure?" I asked. Emma smiled. "You're not the same man who caught her at that hotel. You've already had the conversation she's trying to start. You just had it with yourself instead of her." That hit deep, because it was true. I didn't need closure. I was living it. But as life tends to do, just when you settle into peace, it throws in one last test. It was a Saturday. Overcast, quiet. Ryan and I had tickets to a movie he'd been begging to see for weeks. We were halfway through a bag of popcorn the size of a small dog when my phone buzzed. Jenna again. But this time, it wasn't a message. It was a call. I stared at it for a long moment. Ryan didn't notice. His eyes were locked on the screen. When I didn't answer, it went to voicemail. A minute later, a text followed. "Jenna, it's about Ryan. Can you call me when you can?" My chest tightened. I stepped out into the lobby and called back. She picked up immediately. Her voice was tense. "It's his school. They just called. Said he got into a fight." I clenched my jaw. "Is he okay?" "No one's hurt. Just some pushing and shouting." But apparently, it was over something he said about us. About me. I let out a slow breath. "I'll pick him up." When I arrived, Ryan was sitting on a bench outside the principal's office, arms crossed, jaw clenched in the same way I'd done for years without realizing he was watching. I sat beside him. He didn't look up. "I don't want to talk." "That's okay," I said. "I'll wait." After a minute, he whispered, "He said Mom cheated on you. Said his dad heard about it from his aunt. He called her a liar." I told him to shut up. He pushed me. I pushed back. I put my hand on his shoulder. "You're not in trouble, Ryan. But you can't let other people's words decide who you are." "I just didn't want them talking about us," he muttered. "I know," I said. "But listen to me, their words don't shape us. Our choices do." He finally looked at me. "Did Mom really cheat?" I met his eyes. No spin. No sugar. "She made a choice that hurt us both. But we're okay now. We're stronger." He nodded. "You're better without her." I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. Because he was right. And for the first time, I knew he was going to be okay, too. The morning after the school incident, I found Ryan sitting at the kitchen table with a notebook open and a half-done bowl of cereal beside him. He wasn't doing homework. He was writing a letter. When I asked what it was, he looked up and said, "It's for Mom. I want to tell her how I feel. I don't want to yell anymore." I sat across from him, unsure whether to feel proud or heartbroken. "What are you going to say?" He shrugged. "That I love her. But I don't like what she did. And that I don't like how she doesn't try to call unless it's her day." I nodded slowly. "You can tell her all of that. It's okay to love someone and still be honest when they hurt you." He tapped his pencil. "Do you think she still loves us?" I wanted to say yes. I wanted to protect what little light he still held for her. But I also refused to lie to my son. I think she loves the idea of us, I said. But loving people means showing up for them. And she hasn't been doing that, has she? He didn't answer. But his eyes said enough. That same day, Emma came over with a grocery bag full of real food. Said she was tired of seeing me eat frozen pizza and black coffee like some bachelor stuck in survival mode. Ryan was home, but he didn't mind. He liked Emma. They joked together. He helped her cook. She let him stir things even when he made a mess. And for a moment, watching them, I saw something I hadn't let myself imagine yet. Family. Not a replacement. Not a fix. Something earned. After dinner, Emma stepped outside with me while Ryan played video games. We leaned against the railing, warm mugs in our hands, the night quiet. You've come a long way, she said. Feels like I've lived 5 years in 5 months. Are you angry with her? I thought for a second. Not anymore. Anger needs fuel. And I ran out of fire. Emma smiled, brushing her hair behind her ear. Good. Because I wasn't planning on dating a man still shadowboxing ghosts. I chuckled. What about one still figuring it out? Progress over perfection, she said. As long as you stay real with me. I looked at her, really looked, at the way she held herself, steady and light at the same time. The way she never tried to fix me, only made room for me to rebuild. I will, I said. I promise. The next day, I dropped Ryan off at Jenna's for her visitation weekend. He hesitated at the door. Do I have to go? You don't have to do anything that makes you feel unsafe, I said. But we still have to respect the time unless that changes legally. He nodded. Okay. I just don't like when she acts like nothing happened. I get it. As I turned to leave, Jenna stepped outside. Colton, wait. I stopped but didn't turn fully. I read the letter Ryan wrote, she said. Her voice was soft, too soft, the kind she used to use when she wanted to defuse something without owning it. And, he's angry. At me. At you. At all of it. I finally turned to face her. He's allowed to be. You don't get to control his version of the truth. I never wanted this. I exhaled. You wanted comfort. And when the lie collapsed, you lost it. Her face fell, but I didn't feel anything for it. No rage. No guilt. Just clarity. I hope you find peace, Jenna, I said. Then I got back in the truck, drove off, and didn't look in the rearview mirror once. Because some chapters deserve to end without a rewrite. And this one was already closed. 6 months after Jenna walked out of our life, the paperwork was finalized. Divorce, complete. Custody, settled. Financials, clean. There were no fireworks, no shouting matches, no drawn-out courtroom drama. Just a quiet envelope in the mail, a stamped decree that marked the legal end of something that had died long before a judge put ink to it. I stood on the porch, the papers in hand, and breathed in deep. The sky was that late evening kind of gold, the kind that makes everything look like it's been touched by peace. Murphy lay curled by my boots. Ryan was inside, building something with Legos at the kitchen table. Emma would be by in an hour with a bottle of wine and a new record she found at some thrift store she loved. And me? I wasn't broken anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't carrying her betrayal like a badge or a wound. I was free. Not because the papers said so. Because I said so. I chose it. I lived it. I earned it. Jenna hadn't tried to reach out again since the day I dropped off Ryan. Maybe she got the message. Maybe she finally saw what she'd really lost. Not the man who ran errands and stayed quiet, but the man who rose from the fire with a steadier voice. Ryan was adjusting. Some days he still asked questions. Some nights he still got quiet when he passed by the photo wall where her picture used to hang. I never told him to forget her. But I did teach him what love really meant. Through my actions. Through the way I treated him. Through the way I let Emma in, slowly, gently, never pretending she was something she wasn't. She wasn't a replacement. She was a beginning. One night, after dinner, Ryan asked if Emma was part of our family now. Emma looked at me like she didn't want to answer without me leading first. I appreciated that. Always did. So I got down to Ryan's level, looked him in the eyes, and said, family is who shows up, who listens, who stays. He thought about it, then smiled. Then yeah, she is. That moment didn't need confetti, didn't need a label. It was real, and real was enough. I still kept that hotel image in my mind, the one that used to haunt me. Jenna in the lot, laughing with him, the two of them walking out like they'd done nothing wrong. But now when I thought of it, it didn't sting. It just reminded me of where I'd started, and how far I'd come. I no longer measured my worth in the weight of someone else's attention. I no longer held my breath waiting for lies. I no longer looked backward hoping for closure. The closure had been built, day by day, brick by brick, in everything I chose after her. I tucked the divorce papers into a drawer, not as a wound, not as a trophy, just as proof that I made it, that I let go, that I rebuilt. And this time, I didn't build for anyone else's comfort. I built for peace.